everyone. What a day it's been so far. We had such the exciting time this morning with Ann Aceta Scott. It was so fun to hear her take on building community within the garden. And you guys are in for a treat as we continue today's theme of community and productivity and kind of how we address that in the garden in the Seed to Harvest Summit. We are so excited that you're here and joining with us. For those of you that have jumped into the chat and introduced where you're from, welcome to this session. In just a few moments, I'm going to be joined by a good friend of mine, Josh Thomas from the School of Traditional Skills, and he's going to be giving you just an incredible presentation about STS, we call it, the School of Traditional Skills, and all that they have to offer and how you can live with a prepared garden. But our favorite part is just giving some things away. And so one of the things that they agreed to give away is an annual subscription to the School of Traditional Skills. And so I'm going to pull up this tool. I'm going to make it ready, and we're going to do STS. So if you put in STS in the School of Traditional Skills, that's what we're going to do. And so let me go ahead and find that screen so I can share it here. STS, and I'm going to go ahead and run this. We're going to start collecting here. And we got some stuff. We got some people, entries coming in, 220. Let's wait for a few more people. Type in STS, and hopefully it's collecting them all in time. And let's go ahead and give this drawing, and then we'll show a commercial of what it is. We got 339 and draw. There we are. This person is going to win something that they are going to absolutely see so much value in. We're really excited. AZM. The winner is AZM. Congratulations, AZM. I like the secrecy on that name, but AZM, I'm guessing they might be a Mariah or a Marie from Arizona. I have no idea, but congratulations, AZM. If you could, go ahead, if you were the winner, send an email to support@seedtime.us, and we'll be setting you up with that year subscription to School of Traditional Skills. And with that, let's check out this commercial.
It's 2025. You'd think it would be easier to get good answers, but sometimes it seems like there is just a flood of conflicting advice. That's why here at the School of Traditional Skills, we've partnered with expert instructors to create a comprehensive hub for all of your gardening, preserving, cooking, livestock, and homesteading questions. There are 30 classes, with more being added regularly, that walk you step by step through the skill building process. We film up close and from multiple angles, so you feel like you're right there with the instructor, learning things right the first time. Plus, you can join over 11,000 other folks just like yourself in our highly active community, where you're going to find the support you're looking for, exciting skill challenges, monthly workshops, Q&As from our instructors, and more. Stop digging for needles in a haystack on social media and come learn from our homesteading experts today. We're giving all Seed Time customers $100 off for a limited time. Just click the link below to claim your special discount.
Wow. I don't know if that inspired you, but that commercial just really gets me going. Number one, because I've gone through the beekeeping course, and it was super educational. And actually, I'm looking at transitioning some things with my hives. So I'm really excited about all that School of Traditional Skills has to offer for you. But I'm going to go ahead and invite Josh onto the stage with me. Normally, I'll give a little introduction, but Josh, welcome. I like looking at you as I'm kind of going to give a little bit of your bio, if that's okay.
You bet. But I like your beard. It's a lot less gray than mine.
Hey, well, I'm working on it. I'm trying to not stress out and kind of create that gray hair, right?
You'll get there. You'll earn it.
I'll earn it. Yeah, I love it. Well, I think, one of the things for me, just as a father of 4 kids, I'm inspired by you with all that you do with School of Traditional Skills, tracking along with Homesteading Family, you and your wife, Carolyn, and your homesteading journey, your growing journey. How many kids do you have, Josh?
We have 11 kids.
All right. So maybe that's why I'm not as gray as you are, just because I only have 4. Wow, 11 kids.
Well, I think
Incredible.
they're holding the gray back. They're a delight. It's maybe everything else around it, but yeah, it's a big full life. And we just had our first grandchild, or at least our oldest son and his wife did. Yeah,
Well,
and so we're on to the next generation.
that is so amazing. For those of you who don't know, Josh and Carolyn Thomas have been documenting their homesteading journey in Homesteading Family. They educate people and teach people all about so many different aspects of life, from the garden to livestock management and just their homesteading journey. Additionally, he's launched as a co-founder the School of Traditional Skills, and they are a sponsor for today, and he's going to tell you all about it. So sit back and enjoy this presentation from Josh Thomas, the leader, the legend, the father of many, and just an inspiring man of God that I look up to. And so sit back and pull out your notepad and pencil, because you're going to need it.
Oh, amazing introduction, Luke. Thank you. So excited to be here today and to be partnering up with Seed Time. I love what those guys are doing over there, Luke and Paul and their whole team. And first off, I just want to say congratulations to AZM, whoever you are. Welcome to School of Traditional Skills. So excited to be able to give one of these away and welcome you. And also, hey to everybody, I'm tracking the chat. It's going kind of quick, and I see a lot of howdies and hellos, and so howdy to everybody. Just excited to be hanging out with you here today. And we got a lot to cover, so I'm going to try to dive in quickly. I'm going to tell you a bit more about the school in a little while, but we wanted to pitch in. We're all about education, and so we wanted to bring you a little bit of knowledge here. And we're going to talk today about the prepared garden, 5 must-do steps for a resilient food-producing garden year after year. Now, there's gardening, and then there's resilient gardening. And so we're going to cover just some key pieces that are really essential in having a resilient garden. But first, I'll go through this quickly because Luke kind of covered it, but I'm the co-founder of the School of Traditional Skills, along with my wife, Carolyn Thomas. We're also the founders of Homesteading Family. And we've been homesteading, building skills for about 20 years. And we've learned a lot of things along the way while we're providing for our family of 11. As we've set out to build a life of health, security, and freedom. But it's been a journey. It's been a lot of challenging, a lot of hard knocks while we learn how to feed our family and live from the land. And while there were a lot of frustrating moments, challenging moments, there's been a lot of wins. None of it was wasted. And over time, we realized we built a skill set that could benefit others. And we're so passionate about this life that we set out to share that knowledge with other people out there. So we started teaching through YouTube and on our blog and on classes. But we also realized along the way that we're obviously 2 people, very limited in knowledge. And yet we're passionate about getting this information out there. And that's where the School of Traditional Skills comes in, where we set out to partner with other knowledgeable folks to build a school to cut through all the fluff and all the stuff that's out there. When we started, there was no information. Now it's like there's information overwhelm, and how do you know who to trust, and how do you just get good instruction so you're not wasting too much time in front of the screen, and you can get out there and actually do the things that you're trying to do. And today we're talking mostly gardener, so I'm excited to be here with all you folks. Obviously interested in gardening and learning to improve your garden skills and grow food for yourselves. Wherever you're at in the journey, there's going to be something here for you. So we're going to cover today five things. You're going to come away with a deeper understanding about soil and why soil is everything. It's so important. It is the hub, the key thing in your garden journey. Some smart water systems that will work for you, that are simple, that help make watering work. Some practical tips to grow within your own climate. You want a resilient garden, you got to work with your climate. How to source some of the things that you need locally, particularly soil amendments, and why you must save now for future gardens. So those are the 5 things that you should walk away with today. Let's dive right into soil. Soil is everything. We're talking soil. We're not talking dirt. We'll get into that in a minute. Soil is alive. It's living. And it is everything when it comes to growing a healthy, abundant, resilient garden. I don't care what style of garden you're growing. There's lots of good styles. People say, is lasagna gardening best, or square foot gardening, or no till, or till? And all of it can work. But you've got to have your soil together. You've got to have your soil working right. And when you've got that down, then there's a lot of room for you to apply that knowledge to your circumstance and use the method that's best for you wherever you're at. So let's talk about 6 essential components of healthy soil. These things have to be there no matter what kind of gardening you're doing. You've got to have minerals. You've got to have organic matter. You've got to have oxygen, water, biological life, and that last one, freedom, is supposed to be freedom from chemicals and contaminants. So let's dive into each one of these. All right, minerals, aka dirt. Minerals are just the baseline of all soil. That's your sand or your clay or your silt. It's matter that's never been alive, but it's the base, it's the foundation, and it's absolutely essential. The cool part is you can work with whatever you have the vast majority of the time. You've got clay, you can work with it. You don't have to change it into something else. You've got sand, you can work with that. But you've got to have a good base. And so everybody's got that. That's pretty much what is under your feet. Now, what everybody doesn't have necessarily is organic matter. It's the organic matter that begins to make it soil. And this is anything that was alive and is now dead and decaying. And that's part of what makes healthy soil. Okay, organic matter adds structure to your soil. It holds on to water and oxygen, and it supports the life forms in the soil. You may have heard of the soil food web, but all of the life that goes on in the soil that makes the whole ecosystem work. Okay, and so you've got to have organic matter. Now, you can get organic matter in a lot of different ways. You can get it through manure, you can get it through mulch, you can get it through cover crops. Most of us are going to turn to compost. High quality organic compost is key, whether you invest in it and you buy it, and you may need to do that in the beginning, but eventually you want to get around to making your own compost, especially if you're growing a food garden to provide for yourself, your family, your community, and you want to do that resiliently year after year. You've got to have good compost, and it's getting harder and harder to buy it and know the source. Compost is so important. We've got a class on it at the School of Traditional Skills that we filmed with Noah Sanders, who's going to be here tomorrow, so don't miss his session. But here's a quick video from his class, part of a lesson about why compost is key to successful gardening. You guys can roll video 1. That would be great.
So why should you make compost? Well, it can help turn dead dirt into living soil on your homestead. In this lesson, we're going to talk about why you should care about compost. You don't have time to waste on things that aren't important, and neither do I. So let's look at why making compost is a crucial skill to develop. So as homesteaders, we have various goals and reasons that we're trying to grow our own food. These can include things like health. We're interested in better food for our bodies and for our families. Resiliency, where we know where our food is coming from and we control that supply, and we're closer to that than we are if we're just buying it from the store. And then also lifestyle. Many of us are interested in having a lifestyle for our family where we can participate in that process of growing and enjoying food. Healthy soil is a key part of being able to meet any of these goals. If we have poor soil and if our dirt is dead, then our vegetables that we grow are not going to be nutritionally dense. We're going to have problems with pests and diseases, and we're going to be tempted to come in and use chemicals that could be toxic to the soil and to our health. Poor soil prevents us from being as resilient as we could be, because we're not going to have good harvests, and we're often going to have to use chemical fertilizers or even imported organic fertilizers that we're purchasing to prop up and supply the nutrients that our plants aren't getting from the dirt that we have on our homestead. And then also lifestyle. If all of our experience in gardening is a lot of work with very little return, then it's going to rob us of the joy that we anticipated having, and our families are probably not going to really want to be a part of it. On our homestead, as we've sought to grow our own food, we found that compost has been one of the best solutions for us to be able to go from dirt to soil and accomplish our goals as homesteaders. For instance, health. As we add compost back to the soil, it brings back the life of the soil, which enables that soil to provide all sorts of nutrients to our plants. It also enables our plants to be healthier so that they aren't as susceptible to diseases and pests. And we're able to do things much more naturally in terms of pest control. We found that compost also helps us to be more resilient because we're able to build soil with things that we have freely available around our homestead, and we don't have to just rely on buying bags of feather meal, even though it's organic. And then it's also helped us accomplish our lifestyle goals of being able to have something safe to put on our gardens that our kids can help with, and it's family friendly. And as we've seen the crops that we can grow, it's really increased our joy level in tending our gardens. I'm so excited to share with you about this amazing, simple soil building tool, and believe that you will find that every hour you spend making compost will be multiplied back to you in amazing harvests.
All right. Well, thanks, Noah. And you guys make sure and check out his session tomorrow. But you also ought to check out his class at the School of Traditional Skills. If you've ever struggled with compost, whether you've been just afraid to even start or you've struggled getting it right, Noah has all the hacks. It's the best method I've ever seen for producing quality compost consistently. And his method answers all the problems that people have, like how much water to get in there. You just follow his directions, it'll get you there. I'll tell you more how to get access to that in a bit, but let's make sure and move on here. Okay, next, soil needs oxygen. We couldn't get a picture of oxygen. That's hard to catch, but it's essential. So you need a structure that can hold oxygen. You want an aerobic environment in the soil for your garden, and it needs to be well aerated. Next, obviously, we need water. Very, very key to have adequate water in soil that holds water. Again, that's why the organic matter is so important. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes, of what organic matter does to allow you to hold on to that water, especially if you're in a dry environment. You've got to have adequate water. Next, you need biological life. Soil is alive. In just a teaspoon of healthy soil, there are millions, if not billions, of life forms. Everything from fungi to bacteria to nematodes to earthworms and so much more. It's a whole ecosystem. It's not just structure and minerals. You've got to have biological life. Now, when you provide the other elements, when you provide the minerals, the organic matter, that builds a structure that then holds water well, holds oxygen well. The biological life comes, it's there, and it will be there for you, but you've got to have that. You've got to cultivate it. Next, we want freedom from chemicals. You all know what organic is. And when I learned this method, it was 5. I added this one in because it's so important to point out that we really need to stay free from chemicals, whether that's pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides. We all have a lot of struggles. There's people here from all over the country, if not the world today. You have your different environmental challenges. Very easy to want to go to one of these solutions. And I just want to encourage you to stay away from those. You want organic soil, let the soil work for you. I'll show you in a couple minutes some easy ways to provide your own amendments to help the soil along a little bit if you're struggling with things, but you want to stay free from chemicals. All right, let's go on and talk about smart water systems for a moment. Did you know that the average vegetable garden needs, on average, 1 inch of water per week of your growing season? Now, if you get into individual plants, you can find they need more or less, but most of us as vegetable gardeners, even serious vegetable gardeners, for myself, where I'm providing 75% of our vegetables for a large household, you kind of need a rule of thumb. And 1 inch per water per week is a general rule of thumb. But how you get that water to your garden is very, very important. You want to do this in a smart way to make sure that the plants thrive, to make sure that everything is healthy. So how does nature water? Okay, nature generally waters by rain and dew, sometimes by flooding and sub-irrigation. And we want to try to mimic one of these methods. Now, to me, rain is the preferred method, overhead watering, because it does more than just get water into the soil. It washes the plants, it washes the dust off. Those plants actually can take in water through the leaves a little bit. And it's, I believe it's overall more healthy to go that way. So I like an overhead sprinkler system that mimics a nice, even, gentle rain without wasting water. A lot of options out there. These, what you see in these pictures, is a Danjan system. They're heads that put enough water out that I can water once a week and do a good soaking, and yet it's not too hard. It's not like some of your harder rotating sprinklers that can be hard on the plants, definitely hard on seedlings. And so you want a good overhead watering system that gets the water you need, but also allows you to get starts in and get seed sprouted and whatnot. That's my preferred method in my environment. However, there are some environments where, overhead watering, you do lose a little bit to the air. You need to water at the right time, which we'll talk about in a minute. But if you are in a very dry environment, then there are some other options. Different types of drip tape, drip lines, very, very useful. I was very intimidated by these. I didn't like the mess. I didn't like dealing with them until I met Brian Lowell, who's also speaking here at the summit, and he's done a couple of classes for us at the school. He makes drip line irrigation so easy, and you're certainly going to get a little bit better water usage, not so much in the air. I just don't like it that we don't actually get it onto the plants, but very, very valuable, and you want to learn how to use that. Now, if you need it in your, that's for me, that's in like dry environments. Like he's in hot Southern California, a lot of breezes, a lot of wind. That is a good way to go. Now, a few tips on watering, however you're getting the water there. Water less often and more deep. If you water regularly all the time shallow, all your roots are going to be shallow. It does not encourage the plant to send roots down deep, which is both necessary for that plant to be healthy, to be well structured, and also to handle drought if you have it. And a lot of things can go wrong. Your water system can break down. There's just a whole lot of things that can happen. And so it's better overall to water less often and deeply. And so that's once a week for me. Whatever system you have, it's a little harder to measure if you've got like drip or something like that, but any overhead, you can set out a nice bucket and you can find out how long it takes your system to get an inch of water. And once a week is generally good. Now, if you're in a hotter, drier environment, you may have to water a couple times a week. You're going to have a higher rate of evaporation. Or if you're building organic matter, your garden is young, it doesn't have a lot of organic matter, especially if you're on sandy soil, that soil's not going to hold on to the water. So there are some times when you need to water a little bit more often. All you need to do is regularly go out and do a little finger test and poke your finger down. You never want your soil to get drier than about an inch, half inch to an inch at the top. In a general garden situation, if you're sprouting seeds, that's a little bit different. You want to keep it moist all the time, but water less often and water deeply. Now, preferably after the sun has gone down or before it comes up. Now, if you're in a dry environment, you can water in the evening or in the morning. And by watering before those times, you're not watering where there's you're not getting any sun directly on the leaves. And you're also skipping the wind movement, right? It's usually calm after the sun goes down and in the morning before it comes up. And so if you can water during those times, you're going to have less waste, get more on the plants, and you're not watering the plants in the heat of the day. It drives me nuts when I drive around and I see gardens or lawns getting watered in the middle of the day on a windy day. It's incredible waste of water, and it's a little more stressful on the plants. All right. Now, maximize your water with efficient irrigation, both in your systems and just having time to use the tools we have. There are such inexpensive tools out there so that you don't have to get up at 3 a.m. Or remember to go out after dinner to water your garden. You can do that. We've done it. We still have some systems where we do that, but just be smart about it. And you can get a timer on there. You can know how long you need to water. You're not overwatering, underwatering, and find some systems like a simple battery timer like this on the hose. If you're blessed to have an in-ground irrigation system with the valves and a major timer, that's wonderful too. But I want you to know there's low dollar, easy solutions to make sure you get your watering right. All right, another thing to do to help maximize water is to mulch, to cover your ground. Now, mulch has a lot of great purposes. It can slow down weed growth. It can add to the organic material, and it will, because it'll break down underneath it. But it really slows down evaporation and helps you maximize the water that you do get into your soil. So the hotter and drier you are, the more important mulch becomes. Let's see here. Organic matter as well. Check this out. For every 1% increase in organic matter in soil, you add the ability to hold 20,000 gallons of water per acre. Okay, for 1%. Now, 1% is a big increase. It doesn't sound like much. It is a large increase when you're talking about increasing organic matter in your soil. However, that organic matter holds water. That's almost a half gallon per square foot. When you break it down like that, that is really, really powerful. Okay, so increasing organic matter comes back to compost, right? So important. Mulch being one of your other tools. Very, very important. All right, another piece on water, just a smart solution here, is to create storage. Even if you have a well, create storage. Things fail, things break down. There's nothing worse than having your well break down, the power go out, some sort of problem with your water in August when you need it most. And so having some storage that you can gravity feed out, even with a hose if you had to, as a backup, very, very important for resilience, because things do go wrong. All right, let's move ahead here and let's talk about growing with your climate. Now, a lot of us, when we go to garden, what do we want to do? Well, we want to grow what we've been eating, but what we've been eating is often from the grocery store. Problem with the grocery store is that our grocery stores have food from all over the world at this point. We can have tomatoes in Idaho in February. They're not very good tomatoes, but there's tomatoes in Idaho in February, and they don't grow here, right? So we've gotten very used to the garden. And one of the mistakes people make is to try to grow their grocery store out in their own garden. And if you're in an environment where you can do that, that is wonderful. But there's usually limitations. And so when you can work with your climate, you're going to have a lot more success at consistently producing food year after year, even through challenging times. It just means you're working with nature, right? You're working with the climate instead of it. So choose plants and varieties that love to grow where you live. If you're just brand new getting started, you can do a little bit of research and find out about your first and last frost, what other gardeners are growing. I'm sure there's going to be some good discussions here today. What I can tell you, for us in a northern climate, for us where we have a shorter season, shorter days, well, longer in the summer, but it's very cool. And so, leafy greens grow real well for us, though there's not a lot of calories in those, certainly a lot of minerals and vitamins. Brassica is very, very important for us, and root crops, beets, parsnips, carrots, anything like that grows very, very well. It works well with our climate, as do a lot of squash type plants, which I'll talk about in just a second. So northern climates, we've learned to focus more on those type of crops because they grow well. They don't take a lot of work. We're not fighting the climate. And it just makes it much, much easier. Plus, what Carolyn really loves is they store well. They store easily. So same thing here with the winter squash, all right? Those root crops don't take very much to store. They're not very hard. The winter squash is not very hard to store. Now, we still grow plenty of beans and corn and some tomatoes and peppers and stuff that we preserve and go through regular preserving methods. But if you're really, growing a garden for real resiliency, what can you store well? What can you grow well? What can you store well? You can learn to eat a little bit differently. And so right now we're living a lot when it comes to the garden off of winter squash and root crops and a little bit of the brassicas because they grow so well. So we freeze dry a lot of those. That's going to provide resilience in your garden. Just a little bit of the harvest there coming in one afternoon. Okay, let's see here. Let's talk about amendments, okay? Compost is your main amendment, but sometimes it's hard to get everything the way you want. Sometimes you're trying to add some nutrient to your soil or solve a problem. And so, you know, it's easy to rush to go get fertilizer, right? But we're trying to stay away from those chemical solutions. And there are solutions. There's many. We're just going to cover a couple here today to help you not have to run out and just run to the store. First off, just organic materials, right? To build compost, to build soil. You can often source your own. This is right out of Noah Sanders' garden here, where he's got his leafy materials, his grassy materials, his manure. If you need nitrogen that's not manure, you can grow leguminous crops, okay? Lots of different things like that. But get creative and source your materials even for your compost. You can do that locally. If not on your property, you can find somewhere close by. Another way to go is then take that compost. If you need to make a concentrated, effort to get some nutrient into the soil quickly to help some plants out, you can make some compost tea. Take your good homemade compost and turn it into a liquid fertilizer. David the Good shows you how to do that in a class coming up with the School of Traditional Skills. And there's you can find a whole lot out there about compost tea, and it can get kind of complex. And to get highly technical, it gets complex. But for the average gardener, you don't have to do that. There are very, very simple solutions. And this is one right here that can really help you out at a pinch and get some nutrient to plants quickly. Or maybe your garden is new, you're getting compost going, but you don't have a lot of organic matter, a lot of soil depth. This can be a way to amend your plants during the season. Okay, some other ways are ashes. Ashes can add calcium, potassium, along with a lot of other minerals. You got to be careful how much you add, but it is a great additive, as well as biochar, creating charcoal, okay, that you can also add that to your soil. But what my friend David the Good does is he actually makes, he puts it in his compost tea so that you can soak it with compost, and it actually charges the biochar and it holds onto that nutrient and releases it slowly. This is great for sandy soils, very, very powerful for sandy soils that tend to leach a lot out, okay? You still want to add compost, but something like this biochar is a very, very inexpensive way to hold nutrient in your soil and value add to it a little bit. So just a couple ideas there. Again, David the Good, of course, he's doing with us on survival gardening, goes a lot more into these, and that's coming up this spring. Next, we want to build long-term resilience through saving seeds. Okay, this is the loophole that most people don't get. And if you're gardening for real, if you're really trying to grow food for your family, you're trying to do it resiliently, it means you want to be able to grow a garden through any season, no matter what life throws at you, not just in the good years. And that means we got to close the loop. Okay, so here's the garden cycle. We often go out and buy our seeds, which is great. That's fine. That's kind of the normal thing to do. Or sometimes we buy seedlings or starts, right? These are pre-started plants. More expensive way to go, but sometimes it gives you a jump start, especially if you're growing in a new climate or you're new to gardening and you haven't had as much practice getting seeds started. Starts can be, a good way to go. So one way or the other, you're starting with one of those. You're getting those into the ground. You're either getting them out into the soil directly, or you're planting them in trays inside and getting a jump on your season with certain seeds to get going early. Either way, you're getting them into soil and you're getting that garden going. All right. Those get out into the garden. You spend your season tending your plants, watering, weeding, hopefully practicing a layering method of gardening so that you don't have to weed too much, and you're building organic matter so that your soil is holding water. And over time, you're making this part of the work less. And then you're getting to the harvest, right? You've worked hard all season. You're harvesting your food. That's the whole point, to take care of yourself, to sustain yourself and your family, and hopefully get you through the non-gardening season through preserving that food. That's a great way to go. But then we generally skip right back to, okay, next season, and prepare to buy our seeds or our seedlings. And we've got a hole, which I've already alluded to, in the garden loop. We're spending more money than we need to on seeds and seedlings. We're taking a risk. Any of you that were gardening in 2020 found out that if you weren't on it, it was really, really hard to get things. And that was a blip in time, but it may happen again. I would wager that it probably will happen again. You want to have seeds on hand. And lastly, you want to start saving seeds because you want plants that are suited to your garden. Now, if you're going to buy seeds, you can buy them regionally. You can find producers that are growing in your climate, and that's a good step. But most of us have microclimates. And the best thing you can do for resilience over time in healthy plants and productive plants is to start saving seeds from the best plants that you have so that you can grow those generation after generation of plants I'm talking about, hopefully for people too, hand them on down, right? And this is a skill that people are often afraid of, but you don't need to be. It's actually not that complex to save your own seeds. And there's certain places to start to make it easy to get some wins, and then you can get more advanced. But this is one that people overlook, and it's really, really so simple. And of course, I'm going to tell you, we've got a class for you at the School of Traditional Skills. We went to Maine and filmed with Will Bonsall. Now, Will Bonsall is not a famous name in the homesteading world or the gardening world, but Will was one of the early big voices in bringing back open pollinated heirloom seeds to the world. He's worked with universities all over the world, with the seed bank up in or down in Antarctica, wherever that's at. Very, very knowledgeable guy. And he's very, very instrumental. We all owe him a lot of thanks for helping us turn the corner from being so dependent on the mega industrial food system in getting seeds, open pollinated seeds, back into our hands. Very thankful for Will. Super, super neat guy. And we got a little video here for you on how to determine if a seed is mature enough to save. This is a little clip out of his full class. Guys, if you can roll video 2.
The request that I always get from beginning seed savers is, how do I know when the seeds are ready, when they're ripe enough? For example, this cucumber here is ready to eat. It is useless for seed. There's no seed in here ready yet. It's not really ripe seed. This cucumber here is way gone by for eating. It's yuck. It's tough. It's no good. But it is perfect for seed. In fact, it would be better yet if it had gotten even older and getting kind of brownish colored, and the skin all netted like a muskmelon. That's when it's really ready. This one, by the way, has some damage on this end here. Not a problem. We're not eating it for seed. We cut that off and use it. So this is the distinct difference between something which is at the eating stage and the seed stage. Moving along, this is where ordinarily you use a green pepper. The seed is not ripe in this. Ideally, you would let it go on to be like this, and then, as we will do in a bit, you cut open and get the seeds from it. This is ready for seed. Now, if we had a killing frost tonight coming along, was going to wipe out the plants, and this is the stage they were at, I could harvest them, and there's a very good chance that this would continue to ripen on the windowsill to get to be like this. But ideally, we want to leave it on the plant until it's at this stage. Okay? Zucchini. Here's the stage we eat zucchini, right? Everyone knows that's zucchini. No, there's no seed in there even yet. What there is soft little stuff. This is more what it should be like. And in fact, this is actually not very ripe. It should be. We've had some that are twice this size and watered and more yellow orange all over. This one probably has good seed in it. Way gone by for eating, okay? If you start to get my point here. With tomatoes, the stage you would eat a tomato at is the stage that's good for seed. In fact, better yet, if it's gone by. If it gets to be the stage where you'd throw it at a bad actor or a politician, that's the best way to have tomato seeds be really, really ripe. This one is not ripe yet. This one, not really, okay? You can make green tomato relish out of them, but they're not good for seed. If I harvest a tomato and it's like this, again, as I said with the pepper, put it on a sunny window it will continue to after ripen and it'll get good as this. This one, on the other hand, see, it's kind of a matte color. It's not even glossy and undersized. This never will ripen to make good tomato seeds.
Well, there you go. A little wisdom from Will Bonsall. Father Time, as you guys see, he is such a phenomenal guy, humble guy, neat guy. I don't think anybody's captured him the way we have at the School of Traditional Skills to preserve his knowledge on seed saving, and highly just encourage you to come take a look at his class. Okay, so we've covered the necessary components of a garden that produces a good quantity of food for you and your family year after year. These are just foundations. The whole Seed Time Summit this week is going to fill in a lot of the gaps and a lot of the pieces around this, but these are some of your key pieces that you need if you want a resilient garden year after year. And but you know, these are just tidbits. How do you master these skills? How do you really master these skills in a day and age where there's so much competing for your time? There's so much information out there to pick from and to listen to. It's hard to sift through it all. And this is why we set out to create something like the School of Traditional Skills, where you can trust in the knowledge that we're bringing you. So I've spent a good part of the last 3 years traveling all over the country, filming with many, many people. Will Bonsall, Joel Salatin, some of the instructors here today or here this week in the summit with you guys, like Brian Lowell and Noah Sanders, and Justin Rhodes, I think, is here. Got a class with him on chickens. But we're talking gardening here. And so Rick Stone is another name that not necessarily a ton of people know about. And he taught our seed starting class, and people have had so much success. Indoor seed starting is another one of those things that it's essential to your garden skill set, because most of you live in a place where you've got to get things started inside. And it's not extremely complicated, but it's got a lot of challenges, a lot of little nuance to just get it right. And Rick Stone is a guy that's got a foolproof system. And we've seen many, many people that have never gardened before, you know, get into gardening, use Rick's class, and end up with a very successful gardening using his methods. Now, we've also got a couple classes by Brian Lowell, who, if you haven't met yet this week, you're going to meet. Fantastic gardener, and both on raised bed gardening and companion planting. He'll take you step through step how to set up a raised bed that works for you and your environment. And I mean, you can do this in tough environments. Set up a smart watering system, like I was saying earlier. His class is worth it just for the drip line system, because for me, I was like, oh, I don't want to mess with, it just seems like stuff everywhere. He made it work so well. And a whole lot of stuff in there, as well as companion planting to help you deal with pests and all kinds of different things. Couple great classes there. And of course, Will, we just talked about Will. He's going to take you all the way through seed saving, take something that most people think is scary and show you how simple it is. Like, I've been out this for a long time. I've saved a few seeds, but it was just like, for me, I wasn't getting to it because it was like, oh, it's just too much work and it's complicated. And I was blown away spending time with Will. Here's what Donna has to say about Will's class. The seed starting and seed saving classes have been an incredible resource for me. I feel like I now understand what I am doing and why. My seeds are ready for the garden, and it truly is an all-around victory for me. Way to go, Donna. And of course, most of you, if you're not familiar with Paul Gauci, you should be. Back to Eden Garden. He is probably the most watched gardener in the world because of his Back to Eden movie about his methods. But no, he had never really taught it anywhere. You know, he talked in bits and pieces. And so I was so honored to get to go and create a class with Paul about his gardening methods. And if you look at his garden right there, it's not full of what you think of as wood chips. It is based on wood chips, but a lot of people get this wrong. And so we filmed a great class with Paul to really expound on his method. And so when you're stretching out past pots or raised beds or whatever, this is a class you really want to integrate into your gardening skill set. Lastly, I'm really excited about this one that's coming up this spring with David the Good. David the Good is just a master at growing a lot of food. Like me, he's got a large family. He's feeding, I think, 11. He's 10 or 11. He's up there. he's feeding a huge family in the tough Florida environment, which has its own challenges. Everybody thinks it's tropics, oh, it's easy to grow. No, there's a lot of challenges there. And he's doing it with minimal inputs. And so that's why we're calling it survival gardening. You're going to learn how to garden resiliently for however many people you got to feed for the long haul with low inputs. Now, if you're gardening a lot of food, one of the things you find out when all of a sudden you have a bumper crop year is, whoa, I need to put some of this food up. I need to preserve it. And of course, while I'm a fan of low preservation foods to grow with your climate, you're generally going to want to preserve foods, whether that's vegetables, fruits, meats, whatnot. So we've got a whole series of classes on preservation to help you master preserving the harvest, from my wife, Carolyn Thomas, on freeze drying and canning, to Lisa Bass from Farmhouse on Boone on fermenting food, to dehydrating. There's a lot of different skill sets to meet you where you're at in your preservation journey. Now, we talked about Noah already, the thermal composting class. And again, I can't tell you, for any gardener, this is just essential. And Noah shows you how to do it. Very low tech, very little tools. So source your supplies locally. And if you've ever struggled with gardening, he will solve it for you if you'll just do what he says. All right. Lastly, most of us, well, most of you here are gardening. If you're homesteading, if you're trying to be resilient with food, you're probably raising animals or thinking about raising animals. And so we've got a host of classes. This one here, raising pastured meat chickens, is it's a great entry. Doesn't take a lot of land. You want to start growing some of your own meat while improving your soil. This is the way to go. Dairy classes, how to keep the dairy cow, with Sean and Beth Doherty, a couple of dear friends that have decades and decades of experience, also feeding a large family frugally from the land while doing it resiliently and sustainably. And so with a lot of our instructors, you don't just get the skill, you get inspiration, you get deep knowledge just about working with the land and on the homestead. This new class we just released a couple days ago, I'm super excited, and that is herb gardening, to help you grow herbs both for medicine, for food, and even for beauty in your garden. Herb gardening is a little bit different than vegetable gardening, and Bevan Cohen is just a ball of energy and knowledge and passion, and this is the place to go if you're thinking about growing an herb garden, which is also a great way to start. Like if you're in an HOA, you're somewhere where you want to garden, but vegetable gardens are kind of like, you can have neighbors complaining and you're trying to build some skills while you're waiting to move on. Herb gardening is a great way to go, because then you can literally grow your own medicine for herbal colds and flus, and even learn how to deal with first aid naturally. And so Doc Jones takes you through solving colds and flus naturally at home, as well as foundational first aid skills that don't have anything to do with herbs, but where you need treatment, applying herbs. So you kind of get both. It's a first aid class, which every family should know, your kids should know, everybody should know some basic first aid. Plus you can learn how to do it with what you can grow on your own homestead. Now, wouldn't be complete without some cooking classes as well. Many of you, your home has been influenced by Sally Fallon Morell of Nourishing Traditions. She's become a friend over the years. Not only is she amazing at health, and in this class it focuses on bone broth, but she is a phenomenal cook. You actually get a primer in French cooking, which may sound kind of fluffy and foo-foo, but it will add to just the culinary delight of your kitchen, besides bringing deep nourishment. So all of our classes, this is not YouTube. This is not your actual, somebody's got one camera or iPhone. This is a professional film crew with quality education, putting together an experience to help make it so that you can learn as quickly as possible. Multiple angles all the time so that you can see different things that are going on. I would argue that it's better than being in person, because you can catch so many different angles that even you can't do as your own self to capture what's going on. And this is all created to help you along the way to accelerate your journey, no matter whether you're gardening, raising animals, preserving food, cooking, herbal plants and medicines. We've got a homestead design class and a whole bunch of other great stuff. But it's not just the classes at the school. There is a thriving community. There's so many things online today. There's so many communities out there, and there's so much junk and so many places that you just want to run away from. We created a safe place within the school where people are learning the same things you're learning from the same people, and then they're sharing together. They're sharing their wins. They're sharing their challenges. We've got, sometimes our instructors come in there and join, and we've got expert moderators that help solve problems and apply the skills to your individual situation. And it's very intuitive, very easy to use. We've actually got it. We just released an app a couple months ago so that you've got it on your phone, doing some really neat things there where we're connecting tons of people, literally over 11,000 people to journey with you. People that are some of them are new, just like some of you are here. Many of them have been at it 10 years, 20 years or longer, just like probably some of you here. And it is a wonderful, safe place to grow together, to celebrate together, to figure things out. A whole lot of fun. We're even getting ready to start a seed starting challenge here in just a couple weeks. So it's a wonderful time to join the school. We did this last year, and I can't tell you how many seeds we started. We'll try to track it this year, but I would wager to say it was thousands, if not tens of thousands of seeds started through this challenge where our community leader, Bo, takes you through the class, and you guys all do this together. It's an amazing way to learn when you can take a piece of knowledge or a piece of education that's very good, learn it together, and then experience it together. So it's, like I said, it's a great time to jump in and start. Here's what Kelly had to say. I've learned so much throughout this journey that I never expected. The success and pride to be able to start a seed to bringing the veggies to the table is so rewarding. That says it all right there, doesn't it? From seeing that little seed sprout to being able to enjoy that plant with your family. Everything looks amazing. Very few issues, which is so surprising since I'm a newbie. You can see the rest of that. I'm going to go ahead and go on. Kelly just had phenomenal success there. Now, with every class, you also get a printable book. We call them skill sheets, and sheet sounds kind of light, but these are anywhere from like 75 to 100-page booklets that go with the class that have logs, recipes, plans, written out instructions where it's helpful to have them more written out to take with you. Very, very deep, good resource. These alone are pretty much worth the price of a class at the school. Now, we also have our instructors come back. So all the classes are pre-recorded, but of course, it's always nice to hang out with somebody live. So our instructors always come back only for members. We do a Q&A. Members get to interact with them, ask your questions after you've taken the class. We also have a whole section on workshops. Workshops are there to fill the gaps. The classes are big. They take a lot to produce. And so sometimes, people have questions. Our members are asking us things. And so we do these workshops once a month that's live with either an existing instructor or with a guest that we bring in to cover topics to help you move along your way. And as a bonus, members get our Cultivate Monthly magazine. Wonderful, wonderful magazine that my team produces. It is digital right now. Maybe one day we'll get to print. It's just digital, but it's absolutely beautiful. And it's a combination of stories, of knowledge, of recipes and inspiration, both in writing and in the visual arts, around homesteading. So it's a piece of inspiration, but where you still get some story and some knowledge to encourage you along the way. Now, what's all this worth? We've got over 31 classes, all the member Q&As, all the things we ever do live, we record for members so you can go back to them. Cultivate magazine, the community itself, there's 31 classes. I have countless workshops and Q&As. A class retail price, which you can buy the classes individually on the website right now. It's $199 per class. They're all the same to make it simple. So that right there is over, it's about $6,000 value just in classes without all the workshops and the challenges and the community. But, there's no way we'd ask you to pay that. This is where I'm thankful for the digital age, what we've been able to do to assimilate quality knowledge, but make it very, very accessible. Regular annual membership is $298. If you go to the website, that's what it costs to get access to all of the classes, the community, everything we do on an annual basis. But today, we're not going to ask you to pay $298. We're taking just about $100 off, and offering $199 for a year to the school. You get all the classes that are there. You get all the classes that we create in the next year, which we're creating them regularly, along with all the workshops, which are live for members, so you can attend them live, the Q&As that you can attend live, and just a wealth of knowledge and information from our instructors and our community. So check out the QR code there, $199 to join the school today. I'm going to move through these quick because we're running out of time, and we want to jump back up live for a minute. It really is a one-stop place for questions related to homesteading, and much, much easier than YouTube. You can trust the sources you get. You can trust the knowledge. You're not having to sift through so much information. We take what's overwhelming to learn and make it manageable, make it doable, make it simple. 30-day guarantee for you there, and come check it out. You got nothing to lose. We're confident that you will love it, but if you don't, or it's just not for you, just come back to us within 30 days and we give you a full refund, no questions asked. So save today. It should say $99, basically $100, but make sure you use the code SEEDTIME. Okay. I'm going to show you how to check out real quick. If you follow the QR code or you follow the link that the guys should be providing you there, make sure you save this code SEEDTIME, and you're going to see a little page like this to sign up, to start your account, just your email and a password. And then you're going to go to pay. You see right there in the gold square, have the coupon code. Make sure and press that. This is where people make the mistake. They forget about this. You want to press that. You want to enter the code and apply it. And then that will give you that discount. You can finish checking out, and there you are. You're into the school, into the platform where you've got access to the library of classes, find out what live events are coming up, and get involved with the community and go check out all the Cultivate issues. Love to see you guys there. Honored to be here just supporting Seed Time in this event where there's so much free knowledge, and but really want to encourage you to come check us out, and let's jump back on. Hopefully we can take a couple questions.
Man, thank you so much, Josh. That was awesome. We had so many great questions that we're going to get to in just a moment, but I have to say, I think the number one takeaway was, what kind of tomato do we use to throw at a politician or a bad actor? I think in the chat, that was everyone's favorite comment. Thank you, Will, for that. I know I'm going to memorize that for years to come.
Except for now, you know, you don't want to throw them because you want to get seeds from them.
I know. So that's what we really learned, is there isn't a good tomato to do that. You'll be wasting it either way.
Throw the green hard ones.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. There we go. Well, I want to jump into a few questions. I think everyone can see the link right here. You can use your QR code on your phone, or if you are watching this on your phone, make sure you jump over and you see the pinned chat. Go in the chat and there's a pinned link for you to jump in there. This question is from Homer for you, Josh. I noticed that some people are dropping the certified organic label because of unreasonable and incompatible requirements. Do you have any comment on that?
You know, organic has its place. I'm not a big fan of the label. I think it's helped move us along. I think in the journey of where we were 20, 30 years ago to where we're at today, the label has moved us along. I think what's more important is local and knowing your source. Mm-hmm. And the other side is even for our own selves, it's very, very hard to be truly organic in what we're trying to attain, and it's okay. So I really want to give people the freedom to do the best they can with the resources they have. And, you know, you're going to be basically organic. You're going to get there. Now, is that label in the grocery store, if you're trying to compare one product that's not organic against another? Yeah, there's some assurances there that it's going to be a product that's pure and cleaner. There's a bit of conflict and a bit of different standards, but it is a move in the right direction if you're buying something.
Very cool. We had a lot of people asking questions regarding the overhead irrigation that you use. I think you said which one that you use right away.
Yeah, it's a Danjan system. I've had it for years now. Gosh, I had an outfit up in Canada that Jean-Martin Fortier recommends. Mm-hmm. And they were great because they designed the system. They didn't charge me anything, and I just gave them my garden layout. And then they can help you with the heads because there's a lot of different heads in there. And depends on what you're doing. For an average garden, you want something that's going to give you good rain, so to speak, but not so heavy that it disturbs the soil and
Right.
disturbs your seedlings or moves the soil around too much. But Danjan is that system. I think you might look at oh gosh, sorry, I'm not thinking of it. There's I'm just having a hard time bringing it up. There's another company I think that has a similar system, and I can't think of it. Sorry.
Yeah, we carry some of those systems in the Seed Time store. We are continuing to develop even more and more on the irrigation world for that. Now, overhead irrigation always creates all sorts of questions based on geographic location. And I think we had about 15 different questions from all across the nation right now. One of them was, how does overhead water affect fungal growth and other issues like powdery mildew? And is that a challenge you face with overhead watering?
So it's not a challenge I face. If you're in moderate to low humidity, it's not a problem. That's coming from the south. And yes, in places where you have high humidity, that may be a problem. And so you may want to go away from that. Now, if you're in some of those places, you're also often getting more regular rain. You may not have to water as often, but you may want to go to a drip irrigation or a tape irrigation. Another thing you can do is spread your plants out a little bit if you have the space and create more ventilation. And that's just a good idea. More air movement is what I'm trying to say between them. So it really depends on your environment, but I don't want people to get stuck on, because they'll hear, well, like, no, don't water at night ever, or don't you don't want to get water in your plants because it's going to create mildew and fungal and problems. Yes, it can in a very humid environment, but it doesn't have to. We're in an environment that's, through the summer, 30 to 50%. So I would say moderate humidity, not as dry as the Southwest where I come from originally. And I think you do too, don't you, Luke?
Yeah.
And it's just not an issue there at all. It's just too dry. And so you don't have to worry about it. So you got to know your environment.
Yeah. Context.
And can I say that's one of the problems with learning from online is sometimes there's so much information out there and people might speak well to their particular environment, but they don't have the knowledge to speak past that. So they might be very right for where they're speaking from, but they don't realize, because they've always lived in that environment, that it's actually different. And so that's where you got to curate your knowledge. And, again, one of the reasons we created the School of Traditional Skills.
Very, very cool. What is considered deep watering?
So deep watering is just watering more at once. Instead of watering 3 or 4 times a week, if you're trying to get your inch of water, right? If you do that 3 or 4 times a week, you're getting 1/4 of an inch, 1/3 of an inch, and it's not really soaking in, right? It's just getting the surface. And this is where you can start to think like, I'm getting an inch in, but if you go and dig in the soil, you find you got a little moisture on top, and then you're dry down below. And then that water isn't saturating. So by watering, once a week or twice a week, then you can allow that water to soak in, and the top of your soil is going to dry, but you shouldn't end up with dry layers down below. So that's what I mean by deep. And if you're doing that, you shouldn't end up with a dry layer, is what happens when you water too much and too little, or I'm sorry, too often and too little.
Right. Making sure that water is penetrating the layers of your substrate in your soil.
Right.
And not just really, really shallow.
Yeah.
What do you do if you have sandy soil and your water just goes through it?
You may have to water more. And definitely, I grew up in the mountains of Southern California, a high mountain desert, and it was very sandy. And so you may have to water, especially in the early years of your garden. Now, ideally, we're not tilling, so you can, but you start building up and you start building organic matter in your garden, right? And that organic matter, like I was talking about, it's going to hold more moisture over time as you build more organic matter. That charcoal that David the Good talks about is also a way in sandy soil to hold nutrient. You can kind of charge that. Biochar is the right word. But you do have to build that up. And so in the beginning years, especially, you may have to water more because the water does go through the sand.
Question here from Jan. What is biochar and what is it made of? And can I make it myself?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's so cool about it. Biochar is basically charcoal. It's just burned wood where you mostly have carbon left. So you're burning it to a place where you've burned out the moisture and the other elements. And that's why it's black. It's just carbon left, but it's not burned down to ash yet. And it has a lot of surface area. And so that's another way to get carbon into soil that is carbon depleted. And again, what I learned from David the Good that I loved is you can soak that then into compost. And because of the surface area and the porousness of that biochar, it will grab onto a lot of that nutrient, in particular in sandy soil, which he's in Florida, which is a sandy environment. It's wet, but it's sandy. And so as you know, Luke, that sandy soil will leach nutrient. That biochar will hold on to it. And so you're building carbon in there, then you're kind of stacking a function, a permaculture term, to then hold on to nutrient as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things about biochar that I like to call it the hotel for microbial life.
Yeah.
A single cube of like a 1-inch cube of biochar, they say that there's so many cavities in there. If you were to smash them down flat, it would be the size of a football field, I believe, in some studies that they've done.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
How many little tiny cavities are in there for microbial activity?
Yeah. Yeah. Extreme. Those cavities make more surface area. And that makes, just like you said, extreme surface area if you were to flatten it all out.
Homer asks, how bad is city water for microbial life?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not great depending on the city water, right? It's got chlorine in it. It's might have fluoride in it. It's not great. So you're better to collect rainwater if you can, if you live in the city. But don't let the ideal get in the way and stop you from doing something. You can grow a garden with city water, for sure. And so if that's what you got, I would not use it. I would just can I supplement? Can I catch water off the roof and use that and then supplement with city water? Look for solutions like that, but don't let it stop you from gardening.
Absolutely. Here's one regarding the special offer. So you pay to join the School of Traditional Skills, and then you have to pay for each class?
No, not at all. No. So there's two ways to go. You can buy a class and you can own the class. So you can go buy a class for $199. Any of the classes there, and they're yours. You own them. You've got access to them, and they're hosted there. But you can access them through the app. Through the app, you can download them onto your phone inside the app. So if you're without internet, and you can do this through membership as well. But just to contrast, buying a class for $199 versus an annual membership, you can also get monthly membership, but annual is always a better price. Where for $199 a year, you get access to all of the classes. So, it would take a lot of years for you to ever buy the classes and catch up that value. The membership's just a better value because we're always adding more classes, more content. So you do not, once you have a membership, you have access to everything in there, all the classes, all the workshops, all the events we do, community, etc.
Very, very cool. So I brought up this, the regular price of $299, and it's being offered with $100 off today. So that $200, the $199 today, if you use the discount code SEEDTIME, what are they getting for that? There's 30 premium classes. Is this an annual?
Right now, there's 31 classes in there. We're releasing classes regularly, several a year. So you get all the classes during your membership. You get all the Q&A. So every time we release a class, our instructor comes back live after people have had a chance to take the class and sits down for a couple hours with everybody. That's moderated, talk, ask questions. We do workshops, so you get all of those. So you get to, as members, you get to attend them live, but then they're also recorded. So if you can't attend them live, or if you want to go back to them, they're there. You have the community of 11,000 plus people. We've got moderators there, so it's a guided community. It's very safe, a wonderful place to share, to learn. You've got the bonus of the Cultivate magazine. Any of the events we do, not this one because this is with you guys, but any of our events we do, all of those recordings go in. So members get access to everything that's there 24/7, 365.
Very, very cool.
That's also, even though it's not ownership, that's also downloadable through the app, so that, a lot of people, we just got this up with the app. A lot of people live in places where their internet's not great, or they don't have internet. So you can go to town, put a class in, and then watch it at home.
Very cool. So again, the link is tagged up in the chat, schooloftraditionalskills.com/seed time dash discount. And that will lead you to that landing page, and you can make sure you can jump in there and do it. I know from my experience, I have gone through the beekeeping one. And one of the things, if you have it and you pay for it, be intentional with it. Learn something new. Don't just go and veg out on your favorite TV show on Netflix. Jump into the School of Traditional Skills. Do it with your kids. Go through a course together and actually create some bonding experience under the shared learning.
Yeah, if you got a minute, if I can add,
Absolutely.
this is family friendly. My rule for our film team and for our instructors is that any mom has to be able to sit with her child and watch our content and never be concerned or wish that her child wasn't there. Now, it's geared towards adults, though children can learn from it, but it's child safe, it's family safe and friendly.
Absolutely.
You don't know that on YouTube. You don't always know what
yeah, you never know. And education is expensive. If you're going to go to a university and this is university quality lectures. These are really advanced quality lectures that are being taught. I've been really impressed with the education. So props to your team and the School of Traditional Skills for sharing the content that they are.
Absolutely. Our goal, Carol and I over the years have spent tens of thousands of dollars learning the hard way. And there's a learning curve. There's hard work to put in if you want to live this life. But to consolidate this knowledge, save you from surfing the web all the time, I can guarantee you every class is going to save you time and money way beyond the time and money you're going to put into the school to help you along the way. So.
Awesome. Josh, thank you so much for the time today, for the education, for helping people in their gardens, and kind of thinking about closing those loops on those gardens. So we're actually having a prepared garden rather than a dependent garden on all the systems, right?
No, absolutely. Build soil and save seeds. Those are the two biggest takeaways to me. And Luke, thanks for having me on. It's been great to hang out with you and hang out with everybody here. Thanks for the love. And I see we got a lot of members here today, and thanks for the shout outs. And thank you all. I hope you enjoy the week. And I'm just excited to be on the journey to see so many people interested in gardening, growing their own food. It's culture changing. And so everybody here, you're a part of that, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you.
Very, very cool. Go ahead and check out the School of Traditional Skills and the offer that they have. Check your emails, and we'll be seeing you guys in just a couple of hours for our next session. You won't want to miss it. I have to remember what it is. We've been going through so much. Oh, wow. It is Dakota Cohen with the permaculture garden. You won't want to miss it.
All right. That sounds fun.
It's going to be so good. It's going to be directly for the home gardener and kind of establishing a permaculture garden at the home scale. It's going to add a lot of value to you. You won't want to miss it. So we'll see you at 3:00 Central Time, or wherever you're at in the globe. Translate that and we'll go with it. But thank you all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in just a couple hours.
God bless.